I need his name on my resume.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll take the abuse. And it's one of those things where like you get to a place where like you know you're being abused, but you take it because you know what the payoff is afterwards.
You've just heard the voice of our guest that's on Kitchen Anonymous today, and this conversation was just so mind-blowing for me, and I had to take several pauses, and it's just incredible what you learn when it comes to the facets of what it takes to be in the kitchen. The mental abuse, the craziness, the madness, and the ambition and the drive and the passion that chefs, cooks, whoever you are that are in the kitchen, that you strive for such incredible, incredible results. And, we had to kind of take out a couple of names. It's, Kitchen Anonymous after all. So you will hear a couple things removed on there just to keep our guests anonymous. And we look forward to bringing more episodes like this in the future because it definitely is an eye-opening experience. And I hope it gives gratitude to everybody that is partaking of anything in a restaurant, wherever you are in the world, and to also be supportive of everyone that is in that world as well, because it's not easy. And I hope that for the chefs that have kitchens out there, I hope this inspires you just to be a little kinder, to maybe just rethink anything that you're doing. And hopefully it's all good. But if it isn't, it's time to maybe take a listen of what it feels like to be on the other side of your voice if you are that mean chef. So enjoy today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Hotel Club podcast with my co-host, Chef Adam Malley. Big happy birthday to him today. Hope he's celebrating somewhere fantastic. And myself, Kristy Whitford. Enjoy the episode. Cheers. All right. Hey, Chef, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Coming to you today from sunny downtown Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Oh, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Okay, how's it going there?
It's actually quite nice. There's a burgeoning food scene. There's a beautiful university. I mean, it's like nothing I've ever seen. There's a stadium there that's bigger than the town in which I live.
Really?
And yeah,
That's
they
cool.
take their Razorbacks in football very seriously down here. So
Wow. Is that the kind of town where, how some towns are like Friday Night Lights where everyone shows up for the football game?
I think it's bigger actually.
Yeah.
When the University of Arkansas has a football game, like people come from all over the world, and they have a stadium that seats 90,000.
Holy cow, that's huge.
Yeah,
That's a lot of people.
it's a lot of people. So
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, that's definitely bigger than a lot of cities. So today we have a special surprise for our listeners. We're actually going to bring on a new kind of like a new type of episode where we're going to be having Kitchen Anonymous, where we talk to amazing people from the industry behind the scenes in restaurants, right? And this was kind of like your idea, to talk with people from behind the scenes, because sometimes it's a little bit hard to share stories about what's going on, but then still be in operations and not have your life be impacted or like be able to say whatever you want, really.
yeah, but there are a lot of stories that are very difficult to share.
Yeah,
But I think it would make the world a better place if they were.
agreed. I mean, we've had some great stories with chefs that have shared how they came up in the industry, and how I think still one of the most shocking things was hearing how somebody's hand was put in the fryer. Like, that's still crazy to me. Being able to hear these kind of things just kind of blows my mind. But I have to say, when I
That's
have,
now a goal of mine,
I
by the
know.
way.
No, you can't have that as a goal. No, it's a bad goal. I will share, like, some of the listeners that have reached out have said that they're more thoughtful in how they order their food when they go to a restaurant now since listening to some of our chef episodes, which I thought was really great feedback. I love that. And not
Yeah.
asking for a ton of substitutions or, saying that they're freaking gluten free when they're not, that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really nice. What do you think about that?
It's a good thing. One of the things about chefs is we really do like to please people, and we want to make sure people are happy. And however small, if we can make a difference in someone's life, we are happy to give a gluten-free alternative, or
Yeah.
no
Vegan.
dairy, or vegan. And it's a creative challenge as well.
Mhm.
The biggest thing that we're looking for is I think, like everyone else, just appreciation and maybe some
Mhm.
gratitude to the servers, which translates or carries back to the kitchen. It makes them less stressed. It makes them do their job better, so they can forge an interaction with the client that they're serving, as opposed to demanding, entitled people that don't have any regard for the human beings that are providing a respite from the craziness of reality,
Mhm.
while enduring the craziness of their own reality.
So without further ado, would you like to introduce our next guest?
I would be delighted and honored. So, our next guest, who shall for the moment remain nameless, is a very, I'm proud to say, a very good friend of mine. And I'm also very proud of his journey and where he's come to and where he's come from. He's one of the more talented people that I know on the planet. He may not even think so, but I've seen him in action. And so
You want to make me cry or what?
Oh.
no, that costs extra. But
Oh God, no, in that case, never mind. Never mind.
you have a story that is unfortunately all too common,
Yeah,
and I've seen a lot of people uh, go down the same path, and few have recovered or have fought the battle
yeah.
to recover.
Thankfully,
And
we're on that. Yeah, we're on it.
the ones who, in my opinion, who've succeeded are the ones that have helped others. And so one of the reasons, I thought of you, and Kristy and I thought of you for this podcast is it's an opportunity to get to know some of the challenges and the things that you've had to put up with in your career, which, your career and your life, we could say it's separate, but
Yeah,
the
they're
inter
intertwined.
exactly. So,
Mhm.
I think it's probably best I let you do this in your own words.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So tell us, like, what was it that inspired you to get into the industry?
Short answer, honestly, Hell's Kitchen. I
Yeah?
was a, I was a big Gordon Ramsay Hell's Kitchen fan. Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
2003, 2002 when he first started. That looks cool. Like I probably would want to do that. And honestly, yeah, it was literally that, a TV show. That's what got me into cooking. It wasn't my mom, my grandma, or anything like that because I didn't have that experience. It was literally a TV show.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible. And what did you do from there? Since you saw that show and you knew that's what you wanted to do, you want to be a part of that energy. What were
Yeah.
your next
So
steps?
so I didn't even pursue that. So in my family, I come from I'm first generation born here, Mexican. All of the women in my family that came here were into the medical field, healthcare, and
Mhm.
all of the men went into construction, gardening, your typical Mexican stuff. And I did that at 14 years old. I started helping my dad out on stuff. And given the pressure to succeed, I went into the medicine field when I was in college. And so I was a nurse, an RN for 3 years before I
Wow.
even decided to quit that and go to Le Cordon Bleu at 24 years old.
Oh my god, but
Yeah.
to become an RN is really difficult, so
Yeah.
bravo to you, that took a lot of
Thank you.
education and time and patience, right?
So
Yeah.
it was just taking another 4-year term. 2 years your prerequisites, 2 years specialty, and then I was already working. So I worked for Kaiser. I was already working for Kaiser. So it was just one of those where I'm like, I'm already in, just
Yeah.
kind of slide right in to the program. And
So
yeah, that
you didn't have
for
enough adrenaline going in that profession. You saw Gordon Ramsay and you're like, oh yeah, I got to do that.
yeah, exactly. So I'm seeing here patients fucking exploding bile gas at me. But
Oh
I'm
my
like, you know
gosh.
what? I think chopping an onion might seem more interesting than that. So,
I
so
think
it
you're right.
wasn't until yeah. So
Dude,
it
I'm
wasn't
looking for different kind of explosions here.
yeah, different kind. I didn't know it was gonna make me cry because that one didn't, but clearly the other one did.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it was I'll give credit to that. It was my girlfriend at the time, my college sweetheart at the time, who saw that I was doing all these things, but saw that I was appreciative more towards the culinary arts. She straight up told me, she's like, why the fuck are you doing this if you like this? And I was like, well, shit, you're right. And so one day we just decided, we are like, all right, let's go to Le Cordon Bleu in Pasadena and let's just take a tour of the campus. I signed right there. And then
Really?
I found out there was a Hollywood campus, and I was like, perfect, even closer to home. I'm like, boom, here you go. So I signed right there. I worked for 6 more months at the hospital, just enough to pay for Le Cordon Bleu, and I completely left and was full on integrated into the kitchen.
Holy moly.
Yeah,
That is wild. Just from watching a TV show. But you went into this whole education and medical and then went and took a tour of the campus.
yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
just said, fuck it. I'm like, everywhere I went, I knew that I felt everywhere I went, I felt like I belonged. So I'm like, yeah. And I didn't feel that when I was at campus at Cal State LA for my nursing and all that stuff. So I was like, you know what? So clearly something is calling me. So I'm like, all right, here's my signature. Here's my money. Get me in.
What did that journey look like when you went to Cordon Bleu and then after leaving school? How was it getting into the kitchen?
I really enjoyed going to the Cordon Bleu. So I would go from 6 to 10 every single day from Monday through Friday. The instructor there was the one that told me, he's like, hey, I know somebody. Why don't you meet him? He gave me the information. I texted the guy. He's like, hey, why don't you come through, meet my sous chef? And so I ended up going to Post and Beam in Crenshaw, which is about 2 miles away from where I live.
Mhm.
Um, not knowing that it was Govan Armstrong's place. No idea who the hell Govan Armstrong was. And met the guy, staged on a brunch. I worked the whole brunch without pay.
Oh my
But I was able to handle it. I boom, 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 banging stuff out. Closed on Mondays. That Tuesday, I get a call from the same sous chef. He's like, "Hey, man, why don't you come in on Wednesday and do a day stage, just prep and
Mhm.
all that stuff?" I was like, "All right, cool." Offered the
Mhm.
job right there. Started that Friday. Yeah,
Incredible. And for some of our listeners, can you explain what a stage is? Because a lot of people won't know that, but
yeah,
it's a really interesting process for people to be aware
Free
of.
labor.
yeah. So a stage is basically if you're working in the industry or you want to get in the industry of culinary arts, a chef will ask you to come into their kitchen and you will demonstrate your ability to work in the kitchen, whether it be prep, whether it be working the line. You will have to demonstrate your knife cuts. You will have to demonstrate your cleanliness, your knowledge of said dishes, of if you know how to make sauces, you know how to make stuff like that. They just want to see how you work in their environment, how you
Mhm.
present yourself to the kitchen, and to see if you will be a fit for said kitchen also.
Mhm.
It's basically a trial just to see how you work and who you are and to see what level you're at. Because if they were to accept you, they'd be like, okay, well, if he's level so and so, he's level one, he doesn't know that much. Okay, well, they know that, then they can train you from there.
I mean, could you imagine if every single interview people went on, they had to stage? But this is
That
like
would be
probably
that
right?
that would be amazing because then you can really see where people are at. And you can
Yes.
cut out, I'm sorry to say it, but you can cut out the bullshit.
Yeah. No, but it's so true. I think I only know of a few industries where you do have to demonstrate this part of yourself full on. And like being a chef is one of them, being in the kitchen. For my industry, for the spa, like a person that's a massage therapist or an esthetician or a nail technician, they actually have to provide a service so that we can see what their touch is like. So it's very nerve-wracking, right? Like
It
a
is.
chef, how many times have you gone through a stage and not been hired for a job?
Oh, you can still count them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can still count them because it wasn't that many.
Oh, well,
It was
there
only
that's
three.
good.
It was only three. Three.
Okay. But it's, like, really exhausting because you chefs have to prepare ahead of time, and you're there for, like, the whole day, right? I
Yeah.
think that
It's a working stage. You go in and
Mhm.
typically you'll have to prepare a dish or two or sometimes 13. Uh, and
That's
sometimes
madness.
it's a tasting, but sometimes it's basically you'll do a dish just to see if you can cook, and then you'll work with the crew just to see
Mhm.
if you're getting along with them. But oftentimes, these things get exploited. So it's on the
Mhm.
other end, and this is the, I guess, dark side of the industry. uh, it'll be an exploitation. And so you're working for free under the guise of you're auditioning.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
does this, we're evaluating your skills. Okay, well, you know, if I have to brunoise 5 gallons of fava beans, I think you can probably do that in 15 minutes.
Oh my
But,
gosh.
Yeah.
but
And you got a day of free labor.
it's one of the reasons it's illegal in California to do this.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's why it's a paid stage now.
As it kind of should be, don't you think? Because most of the time I'm hearing just horrible stories, and I could be totally wrong about this, but some chefs will go out and stage for a restaurant and they won't even hear back from the restaurant if they got the job or not. And they'll wait weeks, if
that
not
that could
Yeah.
months.
that could be our next
So,
episode. You could just
right?
Yeah.
I
we
Yeah.
just
could just talk to each other, and I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, just a PSA for any hiring manager out there, any HR director, whoever you are that's recruiting people, just give these chefs the courtesy to just give them an explanation for why they're not hired, but just don't leave them ghosted, please, because it's so rude, because it's a lot of work, and do that for everybody. I've been reading a lot about this lately, and just like a PSA. Okay, my interruption is done. You can keep going.
Wait, I need to interrupt some more too. So this happens all too often. It's happened to me with some very surprisingly big names that pride themselves on, employee engagement and wellness, and oh, we want to make sure that people are treated as internal guests and blah blah blah. And then you get ghosted, and it's like, wait, what happened? You gave me this whole speech about belonging and
And
so
family. And
uh,
no, we
Yeah,
appreciate you.
yeah. And so,
right.
and that was for the 2 days I was in your kitchen for 12 hours prepping for the tasting as part
Right.
of my interview. And then sometimes, in my case, I know because I know people. I often know the people who got the job, and they're like, "Well, yeah, I was already with the company, and I just wanted to transfer." And it's like, "Oh, okay. Why did I have to go stage?" So it can be an enormous waste of time, but it's an enormous waste of emotional energy as well,
Right.
because you're putting your heart and soul on the line. You if you're going to cook, you want the job,
Yeah.
Right.
and you put everything out there, and that's something that, yes, it's with every job, but in the kitchen particularly,
Mhm.
you're exposing yourself to criticism, to potential abuse, to people who are maybe they don't understand. I mean, I cooked for someone in Canada once. He didn't know what a fava bean was,
What?
and he was upset about it. And I
No,
was,
dude, your Giotto one where the guy didn't even know what the fuck, what boss he was using.
oh, yeah, forgot about that one.
And you're cooking
Oh,
But
Italian and you're like,
you guys have stories, that's for
oh
sure.
yeah.
we got a lot of stories,
Oh
but
yeah.
your story is for me poignant and certainly relevant with everything that's going on in the industry and in people's lives today. I think if the industry were kinder, just more compassionate and treated human beings the way they deserve to be treated as
Like
human
human
beings.
being.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of the issues, a lot of the stress, a lot of the anxiety would be reduced by a huge amount.
A shit ton, yeah.
Yeah, that much.
Well, tell us your story.
Well, shit, I don't know where to start.
Going into the kitchen, when did you feel that first burst of adrenaline like you felt when you were watching Hell's Kitchen?
Uh, a month into me working, when I first burned my hand on a handle of a skillet coming out of a 900-degree pizza oven. And that's when
Oh,
I knew, and I was like, yep, this is it.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Do you
So
still have your hand?
I
Holy
still have my
moly.
hand, thankfully. I still have the
Yeah.
scar also from
Oh
12
my
years ago. But
God.
yeah, no, so it it was when I first started working at Post and Beam. Um, their trial for me was you're gonna work a full month dinner service. Just
What?
they're gonna throw me in the pits. And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. 2 weeks in, my first night working in with my executive, Govin, because the night shift guy decided to call off. So
Mhm.
it's just me and him working side by side. Of course, no fucking pressure.
No.
Not knowing who he was. I'm just thinking, I'm like, he's my chef. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit, he's the boss. He's like, hey man, grab me the Brussels sprouts.
No.
Full on bare hand, all clad. I'm surprised I don't have the insignia on me,
Oh my
but
God.
yeah, full on bare hand. Just oh shit. Looks at me, looks at the pan, and he's like, "That's why we always have towels on you."
Oh my
Comes up to
gosh.
me, slaps an egg on me, just rubs it on me. He's like, "Leave it there for 20 minutes. Don't fucking move your hand." I was like, "Yes, chef." So I'm just like over here, just moving with one
You're
hand.
still
Just
working.
I'm still working the entire time. He's like, "I can't leave him because he's doing all the mains. I have to do all the sides for him."
Holy
After
moly.
20 minutes, he's like, "Let me see your hand." Comes back, scrapes it off me. I'm like,
Ah.
chef. He's all like, you're fine. Get back to work. I was like,
No.
yeah, chef. Just boom, 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 boom. Yeah,
Wait,
that was it. That's when I knew I was like, okay, this is what it takes.
this is what you wanted.
This is what I wanted. 2 weeks after that, perfectly fine. Got back to my normal shift. But thankfully, the next shift I worked with him, dinner service, I remember I felt so proud. I called him out on his mistakes. I was like, chef, this, and this. Looked at the tickets, looked at me, and he's like, I'm impressed. And that was
Oh,
it. I was like, got you,
good.
motherfucker. And that was it.
He's a good guy. I know some
Yeah,
people that would have
he's
taken a
fucking amazing.
hot pan and put it back on your other hand.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. He's an amazing chef. To this day, he's still yeah, I still text him every now and then. Same
yeah.
thing. He's like, Are you holding it up? I was like, yeah, chef. He's like, good. I didn't raise no bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a really great. I mean, it's a horrifying experience, but it's a great experience. It, it forged a bond with somebody who you respect and who certainly deserves to be respected.
Yeah.
Um, but what are some of the things that kind of pushed you off the made it difficult?
Quite frankly, it's just being short staffed. Had to do everything. Had to prep, set up the cold line, set up the hot line. Meanwhile, while the other hot cook arrived because he was working a second job also, it was honestly that just being short staffed, just having to set up everything every single day. And then I was off Monday because we were closed, and Thursday was my other day off. But coming in Friday was like just walking into a bare kitchen. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude, like it's 8 o'clock. We open at 11. All right, cool. Now I have 3 hours to set up absolutely everything before the hot guy comes in. The hot guy comes in at 10 because he's working another job also. That was honestly the biggest thing. It was just being short staffed. That kills you a lot because it just drains you. And
Yeah.
then
Well,
you don't want to fail as a cook. You don't want to fail as an employee. You want to show that you're doing your best, but it gets to a point where it's like, Jesus Christ, well, I'm fucking killing myself at that time for $9.50 an hour. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, you're also, this is, it builds and builds and builds, and it has to at some point spill over to your personal life too, because you can't just shut it off.
No.
You can't survive for like that for that long, going like that, right? I mean, at what point did you feel, I mean, there must have been joy when you started really feeling this excitement in the kitchen and that adrenaline, like you met that person you wanted to be when you saw that show. Was it that you first felt your first low in the industry when you were in the kitchen?
I would get off class and I would go work. And it was fine because at the time we were fully staffed. He opened his second operation, took two or three employees with him. So that kind of cut us back. He brought in some referrals from a sous chef. They were cool. They were helping us out. But one got into an accident. Yeah, the sous chef at the time was just disgruntled, wasn't happy with it. So it just made it even worse. Yeah, it got to the point where it's like, all right, well, I'll just do everything myself. Yeah, it just got really, really bad. And then eventually we hired the help. But at that point, I was already uh honestly just burnt from that place. I was just tired of being there. And I had already from another cook who had already expressed interest of me being into hotels. At the time, I was like, no, dude, I'm not gonna go to hotels, fucking corporation. And I was like, no, I want to be private. I want to be a chef and all that stuff.
Okay.
And he explained it to me and everything. I was like, you know what? It doesn't sound that bad. And I applied to hotel and I got hired. When I told chef I was leaving, he tried his best to retain me. They're offering me a higher salary, benefits, vacation, sick time, PTO, nothing which I had in the private sector. So I was like, you know what? I made the move.
And did you think that you were going to go into this hotel and everything was going to be so much better? And you're like, this is cool. I'm going to walk in. Life's
Yeah,
going to be a little
I
more
went in
smooth.
completely delusional, just to be like, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna make fucking millions. I'm gonna be great. I'm gonna have vacation, hotel, my healthcare is gonna be great and everything. And yeah, the first paycheck I got, I was like, holy crap. I'm like, this is what I make in like 3 weeks. And
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap. And then you realize, I'm like, wait, you're in a hotel. And then you start realizing, I'm like, shit, you have to follow rules and you can't
Yeah.
change anything. And it
Yeah.
has to be strict by this, and it has to be this exact measurements. And suddenly, those vacations,
And you
sick times,
can't be
all that stuff.
Gordon Ramsay.
Exactly. And yeah, and all those sick times, vacations, things that you thought you were gonna have, you have to request them, and they can get denied. But completely just you're in this world, and that's it.
You're a bird in a cage.
Yeah, you're a bird in a cage. You cannot do anything. If I called in sick, they were like, "Well, what's wrong? Well, why are you sick? Well, why can't you come in?" It's like, what the hell? I thought this was the benefit of it.
That changed everything, right?
Oh yeah,
How long were you at the hotel for?
I was there at that particular hotel for a year and a half. Yeah, at Intercontinental Century City, which is now closed.
Yes, the hotel
Yeah,
has since closed. It's something else now.
yeah.
I mean,
I have no idea what it is now, but yeah.
I mean, what did it feel like when you first started and you were going through that? Because there is this whole mystical illusion, and you see where chefs start in the hotel or go into the hotel side of restaurants, and then you think like you're going to have a little bit more time with your family and your friends because you have this idea, right? That your hours are going to be different. Are they different? Were they different for you?
Oh, well, at the time when I started, it was honestly, I can't complain. It was honestly great. I worked the morning shift for 5 months per se.
Mhm.
It was great. I cannot complain. I had the time afterwards with my family. I had a somewhat fixed schedule. It wouldn't
Mhm.
really change. I was quite happy. I can honestly say I was quite happy. I didn't like that I couldn't do anything like really creativity wise. Their schedule wise, I could not complain.
How do you feel about menus that are controlled by people that are not maybe sometimes chefs? Is that true? I mean, am I
I,
speaking I don't know.
no, 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 no.
Those
You're good.
menus are curated for you, not by
No,
you,
no,
and
no,
you
you're good. You're good. I so I have mixed feelings. So uh I feel if you're in a corporation or in a hotel, this is what we're selling, this is what we're gonna do. If you're in a private sector, then okay, then that's when I feel that you could probably change. I'm not against having a fixed menu because again, I like I said, if you're a corporation, a big hotel, big conglomerate, a chain, you have to have your staples, and that's to you because that's what brings in your cash. Because at the end of the day, it is a business. I know they're not catering to people; they're just catering to what brings in more money. But when you're in the private sector, I feel that you would adjust your menu to cater to the clientele. But it is more who you bring in and how much you bring in of people, not necessarily money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chef. You were going to say something?
Just to touch on I guess the corporate menu and you know, it's a touchy subject
Yeah.
because for me, my belief as a decision maker in the hiring process is I want to hire good people who are talented and I want to get out of their way. And but you don't always get that. So I've had people that needed guidance. I always try not to write the menu. My favorite example is I had a chef who insisted on putting out fish sauce vinaigrette, and it was a very bad version of fish sauce vinaigrette. It just tasted like fish sauce, and
I love fish sauce, so I'd love to taste it.
this was just fish sauce. It was just an umami bomb in your head, and
Oh, man.
it was not pleasant. I love fish sauce too, but you can't drink it straight.
No, you can't.
And this was the closest that you could get to it, and so I had to remove the dish and put something
Yeah.
on there that wasn't garnering complaints. But he was actually being very not cooperative, shall we say. Our goal is to get people in to be creative. That's what I want. I think the industry has morphed away from that. I think the industry has gone to a place of people who may have bigger egos now and think they can write menus and they get
Mhm.
ideas from foodandwine.com and go, oh, let's put that on the menu. And not even knowing the logistics of the kitchen. That's where it gets really frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, I
Where,
can't imagine what that feels
oh,
like for you all.
I worked for a group where the owner basically handed me a cookbook and said, I want this on the menu. I want that on the menu. And, and I was like, oh, well, okay. But you know, it's really frustrating and it leads to a lot of distress, a lot of anger, a lot of
Mhm.
resentment. And that's part of the industry, unfortunately. It happens more with hotels.
What?
Oh,
Did you say hot dogs? Hard dog.
Jardinera.
Jardinera hot dogs, yeah.
That actually is an
Uh,
example. We were actually working
yeah.
together and we were told to put on these hot dogs with jardinera. Now, as I remember, you made an incredible jardinera, and that made it. It was just like a Chicago hot dog in LA, and
In LA.
but it was the person who gave the menu idea thought this is genius because it's my idea.
But I
And
don't think people eat hot dogs in LA. I'm just,
not in a restaurant and not with
After an
jardinera,
event or after a game, yeah, but that's
yeah,
it.
like I was gonna say the
not
Dodger dogs, of
not in a
course.
No,
hotel.
yeah,
Pink's hot dogs,
but
yes.
but you're serving those
Some
hot
of
dogs
them.
alongside sea bass with lobster sauce and scallops and ribeye steaks,
No.
and all of a sudden, hey, here's a hot dog.
I
Handmade
wouldn't go to a
pastas
hotel
and
restaurant to have a hot dog,
yeah,
personally. I want something like beautiful and indulgent, not a hot dog. I can get a great hot dog after a night out on the street, and it's awesome. It's wrapped in bacon with some onions and peppers.
yeah. It's most likely my tia sell it to you. So
See? I'm gonna need her number later. Thank you very
yeah,
much. Can we talk about what you just said, though? The part where I want to go back to is where you talk about the frustration, all those things that happen when your menu is being controlled. And I think, yes, we know it's a sensitive subject because so many people have opinions when it comes to food, right? And for the people that are in the kitchen making these incredible meals, you're all artists in your own right because you have been incredibly well educated in flavor profiles, everything that most normal people will never have ever experienced, you've experienced through flavor and taste and smell. And so I feel like you should be given the freedom to pursue whatever delectable, interesting dish you want to create and be heard. Have you found that in your careers as chefs that this has caused you to question whether or not you even want to be a chef anymore because of some of these difficult conversations or meetings that you sometimes have to step in about a menu being controlled or other things in the kitchen?
Chef.
It's weird with the advent of fame on TV for,
Mhm.
a lot of people saw Gordon Ramsay and they saw the Food Network and Emeril Lagasse and they're like, oh my God, I want to be a chef. So there's been more of this kind of fawning over the personality and the culture of a chef. However, there's been, I think, a downturn and a trend of lack of respect in general for the culinary domain or the F&B domain. It's servers too,
Mhm.
within the industry. Outside of the industry, I think chefs are still somewhat glamorized, although a little less. But I think within the industry, chefs are I mean, we've always been shit on. We're the guys that take the garbage out at the end of the night, and I think that leads to sometimes self-loathing, a loss of self-worth. Every job I've had coming up, it's been, oh yeah, the chef will take care of it. You get some kitchen guys on that, we'll fix this. And I'm like, wait a minute. And it comes from people who really don't know what goes on in a kitchen or what it takes to open up a kitchen and don't seem to care to want to. And that's where the problem lies, as far as I can tell. So that's my pontification on that one.
Piggyback on that, yeah. Uh, at least the hotels that I've worked at, especially where I've been in charge of banquets, people just don't care. They just want to see extravagant. We're like, oh, I want lobster, I want filet mignon, and then they see it, but they don't appreciate it. The last big property I worked at, where we would do small parties, they would complain about just the smallest things. I feel people just, when you're in hotel experience, people feel just entitled to just be like,
Mhm.
oh, this is what I want, this is what I paid for. People just don't respect what chefs are putting out, what cooks are putting out, not just chefs, but just what the cooks are putting out. Because at the end of the day, I'm not putting it out. My cooks are putting it out. They're the ones
Right.
that are doing it. They're fucking busting their ass. They're in at four in the morning, 4:30 in the morning to bust your ass out at 7 o'clock for your breakfast. Yeah, I think there's been a lack of respect when it comes to private sector. I think a lot of people just expect brunch and they just want like flamboyant, unlimited mimosas, things like that. They don't really care about the food. They're just there to
Mhm.
drink. Most restaurants, that's why they don't do your breakfast option or anything like that, or if they open for lunch. It's for me, it's just that lack of respect for the back of house.
Agreed. I mean, I'll say, like, with regards to what you just said, you pointed out something that was so great is that the expectation and the entitlement that somebody has when they order something. I find that sometimes when people are eating, you come with this expectation that you're gonna order a dish that's named the same thing that you had at a restaurant somewhere else and expect it to taste exactly the way that you had it at that restaurant. And this is one of the most tricky things I feel that people kind of like mess with their own minds. I want to call it a mind fuck, so to speak,
Yep.
right? Because, for instance, I will use myself as an example. I love huevos rancheros, one of my favorite breakfast items to order. But I will never have the rancheros the same way I had at this restaurant in Mexico, at this restaurant in New York, at this restaurant in California, and this restaurant in, like, if I'm in freaking London, right? And the reason for that is because every single restaurant you're going to is different, unique, has a different set of kitchen team members that are there working so hard. And the presentation is going to change. But that's the beauty in food. It's the beauty of being able to say, "Oh, this is so different from what I had in Baja, but I like this." It's the way that everything's layered, the it's like different, but it's made differently because you're in a different place. So just don't forget that as a consumer. You're
Yeah.
not going to have the same flavor you had the last time you had it. If you don't allow yourself the experience to enjoy something new that's been created for you in the way that it's interpreted at that specific restaurant by that chef and that chef's team, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're making yourself look like a jerk.
Yeah.
Don't
True.
do that. Don't do
And
that.
also one other thing is what's happening in the industry now is, food prices. Food prices and labor prices, cost of these things have escalated,
Skyrocketing.
skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I With labor, it's like, yeah, I've bemoaned the fact that, oh my God, now we have to pay cooks $15 an hour, and who can live on that? And
Everyone should be paid more,
everyone should be paid more.
right?
How do we achieve it? Food is actually artificially low. When you're ordering even a burger,
Right.
there's a threshold that few people can get away with, and that's charging more than $20 a burger. A burger is thought of as like, okay, it's a cheap, quick meal, and it should be $15, $16 max. And
Max.
that's the attitude of everyone. Meanwhile, the beef is like skyrocketing. If you want to get good quality beef, you can get pink slime that they use at McDonald's,
Pink
but
slime.
it's called pink slime. I mean, they scrape the factory floor and they mix this stuff
Oh
back
my
in, and
God.
yeah,
Oh.
so but but beef is skyrocketing. And we also have to take into consideration the effect of the climate on how we raise food, on the health of certainly the animals, but on the consumer as well. And the cheap food that we've been accustomed to buying isn't necessarily the best. There are a lot of fast food places that use chicken that's been prepared or raised with there's more chemicals than actual chicken. So in order to provide food at the prices that people expect, it's really, really challenging, and people get angry, and people want to go out to eat, but the numbers are actually falling now. So that actually escalates another crisis: is people's shifts get cut. So now you're working like a dog. You're sticking your hand in the oven, pulling Brussels sprouts and burning flesh off of your palm.
Yeah.
And with some people, I know. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, you're doing a great job. We're gonna have to cut your hours because we're just not making it. And
Yeah.
so all these things contribute to, again, the stress, the worry, I dare say anxiety and substance abuse that's going on in the industry rampantly.
I mean, if we can kind of talk about that lately in my personal life, like this industry is small. We know people of friends, right? And this is a topic that's come up a lot this year, but there's been a lot of sadness, especially around mental health, around the restaurant, the food and beverage community is, and I think this has been going on. Obviously, we know this for a very long time, where you're just mentally beaten at the end of the day when you're in a kitchen. Unfortunately, a lot of people have taken either a leave from the industry or permanently left the industry and unfortunately ended their life, and just because of that sadness or that depression that comes with it, because it's dark, right? You have no balance, you have difficulty trying to do what you love, and then you're not acknowledged and not taken care of, and sometimes people just don't talk about it. They don't talk about what's going on inside of them. That's something I've seen this year, and it's really disheartening to see. Have either of you been impacted by this?
I think that's why we took this whole podcast for that same reason.
I mean, the education, I feel that people, if more people know, I think if more people know and know that there's support, but also hearing stories is so important and valuable. And, if you're open to sharing yours,
Yeah.
we'd love to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. No worries.
So tell us your story. I mean, have you been impacted by the kitchen, and how has it, if you have been impacted, how has it impacted your personal life and your work life?
I guess you could say my life was impacted probably when I started working for it was one of those where it was walking into work every single day, not knowing if I was gonna get fired or not, just because of the intense pressure to just be there. Make
Yeah.
sure every cut was perfect, make sure you had everything on station. And yeah, it was great. The good thing about it is that all my coworkers were fucking fantastic. That everybody was very supportive, but the chefs themselves were just fucking dicks.
Yeah.
Just straight up, get this, get this, get this. I worked in only non-union properties, so they were able to get away with a bunch of fucking shit. They
Yeah.
were just throw fucking pans, yell at us, cuss at us, didn't matter. And I'm sorry, we chef, just fucking take the beating. And then when daddy would show up, it was like Fort Knox. Everybody had to be in pristine clothing, no mistakes whatsoever. You fucked up, you were just sent home for the day, suspended for 2 days, no pay. It was one of the best times I've ever worked in the kitchen, and it was one of the worst times I've ever worked in the kitchen. It
Oh my
was,
God.
yeah.
It sounds like legit abusive relationship,
Oh
right?
yeah, no, 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 for sure. I
Really
know,
good
and I knew
days,
it was
really bad
abusive, and
days.
but I understood it and I took it because at that age I was 26, I think, and I was just what 3 years into my career. So I was like, this guy's gonna make my fucking career. I need his name on my resume.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care. I'll take the abuse. And it's one of those things where like you get to a place where like you know you're being abused, but you take it because you know what the payoff is afterwards. But it gets to a point where it's like, fuck, I would hardly sleep. I'd come home. So we would work 4 days, 40-hour shifts, and you would have 3 days off. Come home, and I would find myself just like not wanting to go back. I'm like, no, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back.
Really?
But I still need to go pay. I'm like, all right, I need to work. I need to work. But just to come see my mother. But yeah, it was abuse. And then finally, it wasn't until my fifth or sixth month, they're like, hey, we have this program right now where we can send first years. They're like, you guys can go and just help out and prep and all that stuff. And I was like, of course, I'm signing up right away. Fuck yeah. I'm like, my resume. I'm like, hell yes. I'm like,
Mhm.
you cannot beat that. Boom, get sent, get set up. Uh, Stayed in a dormitory with like 8 other guys, and
Yeah.
we were there for 3 months. And all we did was just literally just prep, set up the pass. Never got any actual cooking, just because we weren't allowed, because we weren't qualified to
Mhm.
cook. But still got yelled at like everybody else. And even then, I would still see. I thought I had it bad. The guys in the actual line, they were just getting their asses torn.
Really?
Make the military look like fucking babies.
Whoa. I mean,
It was it was chef. I don't know if you remember, but it was during chef. Yeah,
That's been affectionately known, his time there as the Reign of Terror.
yeah. So
really? The
yeah,
reign of terror?
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
Oh,
I
it's
got lucky. I didn't have to deal with him, but
it's
yeah,
a
it was during that time.
it's a I guess a ritual in high performance kitchens to break people down and then build them up the way you want. It's like the military.
Yeah,
You're exactly right, but that has emotional consequences to some people, and
yeah.
keep,
You can't live like that for a long time. Even
no,
in the service, you're not
no,
treated like that throughout, right? You
no,
get through training and then you're done and you're not spoken to like that again. It's like with respect.
no.
But this is constant
Yeah.
in your
So
career.
yeah, a lot of the funny thing is that a lot of the guys that I work with were there for like 10, 12 years. They started from the bottom, but they never left. They just stayed right there. Authority accepted them for just being there, and they
Yeah.
just never left. So they never had any issues. So when I
Mhm.
came back and I told them about all these things, they were like, "The fuck are you talking about, dude? Like we've always been cool and everything." I'm like, "No, motherfuckers, you guys have not been upstairs. Like you guys
Yeah.
don't know anything." Like,
Yeah.
like you guys are just comfortable here because they want you here. You haven't left. There's a reason why you're still in the fish station for 14 years.
Well, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, you can see this. I'm just like so mind blown right now. I personally couldn't survive in an environment like that for very long because I would just probably lose myself. How did you not lose yourself in all this?
I did. I
You
did.
lost, you
I did.
lost
I
it?
did. I would fucking lose it. I would go I'm not gonna lie to you. I would go after work, fucking just drink, or on my days off, get lost in the desert or go climbing. Thankfully, I never got into gambling, so I didn't. The casinos never called me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just stayed at the time. I just stayed at home. I would cook at home. I just kind of isolated myself. I wasn't really drinking at the time, but I would drink after work just to just get the fuck out of there. And
Hmm.
that's kind of how I dealt with it. I didn't have friends. I had my god sister's sister, so I would hang out with her and her boyfriend. But for the most part, it's just being at home, a lot of Netflix, a lot of working out, walking around, spending time by myself, and that's how I did it for a year and 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
At which point do you go through a mental check and you ask yourself, Is this what I want to keep doing?" Or do you actually, I feel like one would explode at some point
every single day I asked myself, "Is this what I want to keep doing?"
and you kept
Every single,
showing up.
and I kept showing up. I'm like, just push through it. Just push
Holy
through it.
man.
That was my thing. It's just push through it, push through it, push through it, push through it. My biggest thing was like I didn't want to come off as a failure to my family, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't want to come off as a failure. I wanted to prove that being in the kitchen could be a sustainable way of life.
Okay.
It,
Yeah.
You're That's hard.
Yeah.
That expectation, right? That need for ensuring that, I mean, in my culture, I'm part Asian too. It's like we have this thing where you don't lose face. You don't want to lose face in what you're doing, or you don't want your family to lose face. Is that something like you feel like you don't want to lose face for yourself and your
100%.
family? Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Now, is that a pressure that you put on yourself or that they actually put on you?
80-20. 80 on
Okay.
myself, 20 on them. Yeah.
mm,
Okay. That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because in the end, I'm sure, if your family, if they knew all these stories, did they know what was going on?
Uh, They knew something just because I wouldn't divulge. I was
Yeah.
one of those where I was like, I know it sounds terrible, but just being as the man, I kept
Mhm.
everything to myself. And if there was any problem or anything, it was my problem to solve. It wasn't their problem.
Oh, man. Let's talk about that.
I knew we were
What
gonna
happened? Why do men feel like you can't be vulnerable and share information of what's happening? You don't have to hold it
because
inside.
every time we would
I know you guys
divulge
are, it's crazy. Tell me.
every time we divulge a vulnerability, it gets thrown to our face.
which, by the way, that happens in the kitchen. In kitchen, I've worked in kitchens, again, high functioning kitchens, Michelin star kitchens, where those vulnerabilities are you're invited to share them as a means of bonding, and then later on they're thrown right back at you as a
Yep.
Oh,
way of
no.
breaking you
Yep.
down and making you this small. I'm holding
Jeez.
my thumb and forefinger together very close for those of you who
Yeah.
can't see me.
Oh
But
my god.
um no, it's a tactic. It's almost like a cult.
That's wild.
So you keep
That's
And
everything to
wild.
yourself. You just don't say anything. If they don't know, they can use it against you.
I once witnessed I can't name the restaurant because it'll probably end my career, but world famous chef, um, his chef de cuisine, a cook had come in and
Mhm.
basically said, I can't work tonight because my wife left me and cheated on me. And so we heard about this. The way we heard about it was the chef convinced the guy to stay and said, look, this is going to be good for your mental, your mental health. It'll get your mind off the problem. And so you made him work. He was coming up late with a plate for whatever reason. It can happen. Um, and this particular chef just started screaming at him like, "Hey, I know your wife left you, and I know why. Because you can't put a plate out
No,
in front
you
of the
can't.
whole, not only kitchen,
No.
restaurant." Yeah.
Oh my
And he
God.
didn't say it as nicely as I just said it.
Wow.
And
This is
so, but
awful.
but
This
it's
is why we
common.
stay quiet.
Man, you guys, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. How are people even eating in restaurants? How could you even cook anything with this kind of mental beatdown every single day? Like, this is wild to me. This is
I don't
wild.
eat in restaurants, so for the
You
same
You
don't?
reason.
you
No,
either, it's sink or swim. You either thrive on it, and you can only, to your point, Kristy, you can only thrive on it for so long. It will catch up
Yeah.
with you. If you
Oh
thrive
God.
on it, you'll make it, you'll survive for however long. And most people, the people that I know, the people that I respect, we've all come up in this environment and then
Mhm.
realized this isn't who we want to be.
Yeah.
This isn't what
yeah.
we're supposed to be, serving people, and we're supposed to
Like, what the
create.
like, what happened from the moment we went in to the moment we're at right now?
Yeah.
You can't
And
it can't survive like that. That's a very old school mentality, right? Of having a kitchen because this doesn't make a healthy industry. I mean, it's not why people go in there to get yelled at. People go in there because they want to create something incredible for people to eat. But they don't want to lose their minds doing it. That's
Yeah,
not healthy.
yeah.
no, and
That's why there's such a high demand for employees now. It's like everywhere I look on Indeed, on in LinkedIn, everything, everybody's hiring for the same reason. Like they can't retain cooks for the same reason. It's
No.
like everybody's just
It's almost like a chef should anyone that comes into stage, it should be more like, let's stage your attitude. Let's see if you're the right person to work for and with, if you have the right demeanor, because this isn't going to be sustainable in the long run, right? And I feel like that mental beat down, it just is why people don't want to be a part of it if they have left. And but you know, how did you make it this far? Still to this day.
yeah. Well, when it came to me, thankfully, all of my as working as a cook, every single position thankfully has been through the graces of somebody else, some a recommendation. Apart from my very first sous chef job,
Mhm.
when I was a cook, I was recommended from host and beam to intercontinental through instructor at Le Cordon Bleu. From there, actually, Bouchon was just completely out of the random. I staged at Bouchon, LA. Sent a letter to Bouchon, Vegas, uh, got out of Bouchon, LA from their stage, saw a voicemail from the chef from Bouchon, Vegas, got offered got told I could stage with them, explained to them, hey man, look, I just got offered a job here at Bouchon, LA. I would actually like to come work with you guys. Did the transfer. It was perfectly okay. They accepted the stage, went to Bouchon, LA, came to back to the Roosevelt from LA through a recommendation, did my own thing, trying to work for sous chef for Marriott, and everything from there has just been recommendations. Honestly, the only way I see it now is to get into an industry is through recommendation because nobody else is hiring.
Yeah.
And if they're hiring, they post the positions, but you get an email, get ghosted, or you do an interview, get ghosted after that. I've done 3 chef interviews in the
Mhm.
past 2 months. Full on interviews, 2, 3 hour interviews, great Zoom interviews, stages, cooking, nothing, ghosted, no answer, nothing.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Just write back. It takes a minute. That's all you've gotta do. Just say thank you for
Yeah.
coming. God, it's terrible. But ho I mean, with that regard, like you being recommended and referred to different restaurants and properties, With all the restaurants and recommendations and different places that you've worked, how has your mental health been throughout this entire career of yours?
It depends. It deteriorated a lot in 2022. It really started to affect me 2019 when I
Mhm,
was executive chef, and I had a great team. Front of house, back of house was doing amazing. We made great fucking money. We broke their records and everything, but I had a really shitty GM who would
mhm,
just constantly nitpick, 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 nitpick. Eventually moved from that place. Fantastic place. Loved it. But towards the end of the year, because I was the last one to get hired, first one to get cut, so
mhm,
that really put a strain on me. I was at the time I just got in a house with my partner, and so it was just freaking out. It's like, oh shit, my mortgage, my bills, and all that stuff. How the hell am I gonna pay all these things? I'm like, she can't afford to just pay for both of us. I was like,
mhm,
shit. Um, Thankfully got a job right away. After that, I realized I was just
mhm.
so I would rank in money, but at the same time, I was working from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night every single day because
Wow.
I had to do morning service and then still take care of all the banquet service because I
Yeah,
was the only one with banquet experience. It was just a beating. To cope with it, honestly, I started drinking. I would
yeah.
drink on the job, just didn't care, just to make it easy. Finally left that place because I realized it just wasn't good anymore. And then thankfully, I ended up being at another place
Mhm.
and I was good there. I was good there for about 2 years, but a year, I'm not even a year, like 4 months into it, I separated from my fiance.
Oh gosh.
And we were engaged, getting married 10 weeks later.
Mhm.
So that just took a mental toll on me. At that point, I'm like, I don't give a shit anymore. The hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would do my work and everything. I was just dwell myself into work. But because my chef knew that, it was just one of those where I'm like, all right, well, here's work, here's work, here's work.
Mhm.
Working 14, 15-hour days. Because it was union property, if somebody didn't finish something, guess who had to do it?
You.
Finish it up. Yeah. So it was like that for like a good 9 months.
Everything was just being dumped on you then.
It's
Everything was being
it's
dumped on me. And
it's
then my
common.
other sous chef, everything. And then what sucks is that my other sous chef, who had just recently got hired as sous chef because she had put it on a contract, he only worked from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Why? Why was it
because
so different between the 2 of you?
that was the contract she signed, and that was the contract they gave her.
Oh gosh.
And that was it. And that was my mistake because went in as a sous chef,
Mhm.
not knowing that I was going to be in charge of all the banquet stuff.
Yeah.
And it was one of those where I'm like, well, shit. Again, one, I don't want to disappoint. I'm
Mhm.
going to do everything I can. And because I don't want the guys to come into a shit show in the morning and complain to me and they're going to fucking call out because it was a huge problem of call outs. So I'm like, well, shit, I'd rather just put in 2, 3 hours more and not have the risk of them being calling of them calling out.
Yeah, but that's
And
not
then I lose the whole
sustainable.
day.
That's not sustainable. Like, how did you keep you just, like, kept getting it was just one thing after another, right? A domino effect of things,
Everything
and
was just one thing after another. And there were, don't get me wrong, there were times where like other sous chef would help and everything like that. But at the end of
Mhm.
the day, it just because I was the one in charge.
At any point, did you say, "That's enough. I'm
Yeah,
done."
I made it very clear to chef, and I was like, yo, dude, I'm not gonna fucking do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
And it was alleviated for like 3 weeks, and then it started again.
Does
Yeah,
it
and
feel
then
like in the kitchen sometimes it's the same issues just over and over again?
I think in the kitchen it becomes an issue when you're understaffed and when you choose not to hire staff. That's
Mhm.
the problem
Yeah.
because we had the money to hire staff, we just never hired them because they were like, I always made a joke, but it always made sense. Chef's salary depended on labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, his
Well,
bonus.
it's the bonus. Part of the
Yeah,
bonus is
the
that.
bonus, the
Yeah.
bonus, the bonus depending on labor. So I'm like, of course, it was in his benefit to not hire more.
That's
And
terrible.
yeah,
That needs
So
to end. Whoever's writing up that person's KPI for their bonuses, that structure needs to change.
it needs
yeah,
to drastically change.
yeah,
It should be more retention based.
It
yeah.
should be retention based, performance based. There are KPIs like profitability per cover, and that
Mhm.
should be somehow tied to labor. Well, it is actually tied into labor. So, the profitability for cover, yeah, that's part of it. But I think the retention is an
I think
important one
yeah, the
too.
retention one would be a good one because it would really show me like how much of a leader you are. I was always a big fan of like helping the guys and everything. It gets to a point. It's like, all right, well, we're gonna do it with two people instead of four people. And
No,
it's like if he doesn't finish, oh, don't worry. So he can finish it off.
no,
What happens if you needed a vacation? So, chef, I wanted to ask you, like, what's your go-to dish? What do you like to eat? Your favorite food could be something so stupid like I have a weakness for Pop-Tarts. I've never told anyone.
he does. He likes Pop-Tarts, she said.
Sandwiches,
Oh, any specific kind?
butter, Oro wheat, buttermilk bread, Costco ham, white cheddar, mayo mustard, bread and butter pickles,
Oh,
Yeah,
and lettuce. That's it. That's
just
it. That's my
very,
go-to.
wow, that sounds delicious. Just a sandwich, but
Just
very
a sandwich.
specific on where
I
all the
think.
ingredients are from.
Oh well, just because that's what I like.
it's so simple and so
It's so
elegant.
simple, but it's so fucking good.
See, that's what should be keeping people in the industry, not the
Simplicity,
bravado, not the abuse, and maybe the hope
right?
that someday you'll be the one abusing people. Should be the
No.
sandwich. The
Yeah.
sandwich should be keeping us together.
Can I ask you today, like, as like, you're still in this industry right now, what is it that you do love about it the most, despite all the hardships and everything that's difficult about it? And what is it that brings you the most joy?
The camaraderie.
Yeah.
Camaraderie
Yeah.
when you join a kitchen and you form that bond with your team, like there's yeah, you can't beat it. It's like
Yeah.
you can put a pan down and next guy knows, boom, here's butter, everything, or you throw something, they have it right there next to you. Like that feeling, knowing that
Mhm.
you can leave your station to go take a piss and your station is covered.
Love.
That alone.
And I know we've talked a lot about, like, how, like, crazy and chaotic a kitchen can be. Can a kitchen thrive without the screaming and the throwing of things and just, like, putting people down, all that wildness? Can a kitchen thrive with
Yeah,
kindness?
yeah, because we've already done it. Yeah, we've done it. When Chef was there at Roosevelt, when I was working under him, there was no throwing of pans, there was no screaming, there was no cussing or anything. Just, hey man, I need this. Cool. Cool, here you go. It,
Yeah,
it's possible. It's just people expect that from the kitchen. It's just show.
it is.
It doesn't produce the desired result.
No, it doesn't.
Not I was going to say 9 times out of 10, but really 10 times out of 10. It might get people to snap to attention and be a little bit more careful, but they're motivated out of fear, not producing
Out
the
of
best.
respect.
Yeah, and I would rather see people do things out of pride and to try and get a result that's just a beautiful camaraderie, as you said, which is a key thing. You don't have
Yeah,
camaraderie in the kitchen, you don't have a team. So to have those elements come together is a success as opposed to, yeah, you can scream. It'll last for a while, and then you can get a new crop of people, and you can scream at them, and
yeah.
that's how a lot of people go on. And then there are people again who thrive on it and who are like, I know people who've been with chefs who are horribly abusive and they've been with them for 14, 15 years. If I had to look back on those 14, 15 years and know that I would have possibly traded my life for a lot of that, I think I would, it would give me pause. I've been
Yeah.
really lucky. We have another question that we ask everyone who we're fortunate to be in their company, and that is, I think it's an important question for me and certainly for you. Is what's one thing that you are grateful for in your life?
Honestly, there's only been one woman, my mother.
Oh,
She's been the only one that's been one. She never stopped supporting. Even when I decided from going from nursing to cooking, my dad threw me the shit. My mom paid half of my tuition for
wow.
culinary school. So her,
Beautiful. Kudos to your mother.
yeah. Oh, shit.
Oh,
I'm grateful that I've had the chance and hope to have the chance again to work with you. So and also
Same
to
here, chef.
call you friend.
Same here, chef.
it's just been such a wonderful thing to talk with you. Thank you so much for sharing your
Of course.
story with
No,
us
thank you
and
for having
also
me.
for being so open. We have to break bread soon.
Oh no,
Or should we break sandwiches?
we'll do one of those
Whichever
sandwiches.
one.
We're going to be doing these live hopefully soon. So
Yeah. We'll be doing it in person. That's what we're looking
Let me
forward
know.
to most. So you have to
Let me
come to
know.
the table and share some food with us and
Yeah,
more
definitely,
conversation.
definitely.
Thank you.
All
Take
right,
good
my
care,
pleasure.
okay?
Likewise,
Have a
thank you,
great day.
chef.
Bye.
hey, we will talk again.
Yes, chef.
All right, stay strong.
All right, thank you,
Bye.
chef. Bye bye.
He's so nice.
He's great. Uh,
He's been through so much.
it's also it's hard. Like this is, it's a hard subject matter. It's not.
It is. I don't think I understood like how I mean, I know you guys go through a lot, but I feel like it doesn't have to be like that. It really doesn't. I mean, your kitchens have always been very cool for me to walk into, and I see everybody just working together. I've never seen you have a day of screaming at all. I've never heard of it either. I mean, this is such an eye-opening experience for me personally, and it almost makes me want to learn who has the best kitchens in terms of kindness and the ability to create really great teams and not abuse them verbally or emotionally while they're doing what they love, which is to cook and to serve others. I'm just so curious to explore that subject in the future.
I would love to. I'd
Yeah.
love to do some research on it because I know a couple of chefs. I mean, we had Michael on, and he was
Yeah.
exemplary in that
He's
regard.
he's wonderful. I mean, I personally, I now think that I won't eat in restaurants where if I know the chef is vicious in any way or mean or cruel to the team, I won't go there.
Or
Is that
encourages the culture. Yeah.
right?
I,
I feel like I'm stepping away and now I'm learning things and I'm going to ask more questions when I'm going to a restaurant and find
yeah,
out what the kitchen culture is, right? Let's support the good ones. That's all I'm going
definitely.
to say for sure. You're
Can
one of the
I?
good ones. I'm honored to know you.
I
Thank you so
try.
much.
Me too. I feel the same way about you.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Chef.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Kitchen Anonymous on the Hotel Club podcast with my co-host, Chef Adam Malley, and myself, Kristy Whitford. Today's episode was very, very intense for me personally. I think, it's not my world to be in the kitchen, but I gained so much more appreciation and gratitude for everything that I'm learning from all the chefs, from the people inside of that space, because I had no idea. You hear stories, you see things on shows, you don't really get what it feels like to be on that side unless someone shares their story with you, and this has been quite a very eye-opening experience, and I'm so grateful to our guest who joined us today and shared his story with us. So if you know anyone in your world or you observe anyone that is going through a hard time, whether it be mental health or something else, please connect with them, share resources. There are so many in this world. We're leaving some links on our page as well, so please check it out. If you don't already follow us, please do follow our episodes. We're so excited to be here with you and to share more of what this incredible industry has to offer, and we just hope that we all walk away with a little bit more of an awareness that we could be kinder, we could be gentler, we could be better. And wherever you are, thank you for being here. We look forward to sharing more words with you. Take care, be kind, and just be good people. Cheers.